you do, who you are. So if you could explain to everyone all the fabulous details, that would be wonderful.
Bonjour, comment ça va? My name is Ryan Perez. I am owner and founder of Bowtie Creative. I own a freelance web design, graphic design company. And then I am also owner and founder of Hustle Zone TV, which is an ethnocultural video documentary and media company. And pretty much what we do is we highlight we highlight the stories of people within the Black and Hispanic communities around the world. We are an international company. We have a fan base of over 38,000 people, and we're growing every single day. But the main reason why we put this company together was, mainstream culture often does not looks at these two groups of people as a monolith. And, I wanted to create something that really highlighted the individual voices of, the members of these communities, because, within the community, there are sub-communities and different lifestyles that people live. So, we're using this platform to highlight, the lifestyles of, Black and Hispanic communities. Now, you've been on our show, other people have been on different shows that we've had, via live stream or whatever. And we welcome everyone, but we put an emphasis of putting Blacks and Latinos in the center of the conversation, because normally we're not used to being in the center of the conversation.
Okay. What else do you do?
I'm a father. Well, I'm a father. For the freelancing, Bowtie Creative, that keeps me busy, doing, I'm a web developer, graphic designer and whatnot. But, when I'm not doing Hustle Zone, when I'm not doing Bowtie Creative, I am, I'm a father. I co-parent a young boy who's 11 years old. And I'm also, an activist. I'm a civil rights activist. I don't do much public work anymore. I do a lot of private work, but I'm either volunteering my time, mentoring somebody, or being a father. But I always try to keep myself busy as much as possible, as long as I have the energy to do what I need to do. But as long as I'm doing it, I'm good.
Exactly. Yeah. That's good. When did you start each business? When did you start your Bowtie Creative, and when did you start the Hustle Zone?
Well, Bowtie Creative first started off as a freelance. I went to Bishop McNally High School, and Bishop McNally is great school. It's in the Northeast, and I was not really a good kid. So during computer class, I would be playing with Photoshop. So, so while the teacher's talking about, this is how you do a Word document, and I already knew how to do all this stuff, right? My brain is, I think really fast. I'm an intelligent person, so I just lost interest in the class, and I started doing graphic design. And and then I met a football player, which I choose not to name his name. He was part of the Calgary Stampeders, and this person, he had murdered his wife later on down the line, and so that's why I choose not to say his name. But he gave me and my friend an opportunity to do an all ages jam at the Hard Rock Cafe here in Calgary. And we had it packed. We had all of our friends. It was 400 people. It was super cool. And I did the first graphic design for that. And then later on I did a design for Russell Peters. I did a design for when he came here for CareFest. I was a young kid that was just doing flyers, and I was selling flyers and printing flyers for people. And then over time, I just developed other skills. And I did some volunteer work with my mentors and whatnot, and and now I'm here. I learned a lot of my skills online, either through trial and error or through, taking courses on lynda.com, but, pretty much carved out a career for myself. Hustle Zone was a project that I started in 2000 and about 4 years ago. So 2016. And, I was doing live streaming. This is my first introduction to live streaming, because at the time Periscope was out and it was super cool, Periscope, that you could stream yourself. But I always thought it would be cool if I could stream with other people and talk to other people, because I do well when I'm in front of an audience, not by myself. So I, a guy by the name of Martin Scarelli was in the news for jacking up the prices for HIV drugs. And he was using this platform, to pretty much curate his audience. So I was like, I want to give him a piece of my mind. So I go on to Blab, and that's what the company was called. And it was a super cool community, like, 4 people on the screen, similar to StreamYard. And it was an open community. Everyone can come in and join into your show at any time. And, people would be on for 24 hours. I met Martin Scarelli. He was really rude. I didn't give him the piece of my mind, but, I was able to meet a lot of cool people. And that's what started Hustle Zone, because it was just the idea of, this was what I felt social media was really about, was actually talking to people, being social, not just posting a timeline or posting pictures, but actually being a part of the community. So we started a show called the 1% Jam Session, which was a bunch of entrepreneurs that would come in and they would just jam, right? And they'd be like, manifest, hustle hard, all these things. And
like jam to me, when you say jam, I think of music, because my history is all the music, and then of course my underground radio C that I normally do is all music too. So I just think, jam right away. I'm like, music jam. Yeah. But when you said that, I was like, okay.
It's a jam session. So we had people come in and everyone would just talk and say their piece. I saw value in it. I didn't know at the time, and shout out to my friend Patrick Vanderbilt. I would be like, I don't know what this is all about, but I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make something happen from this. And, and lo and behold, that's exactly what I did. I just kept on working at it. It was an entrepreneur. Most of my fan base was in America. Most of them were Floridians, or how do you? I don't know what the Floridians, Floridians, and a lot of them were. Sorry, I'm just. A lot of them were Republicans, and most of them, because most Republicans are. Excuse me. Most of them are most.
I'm glad you're over there.
Yeah. Most of the, sorry, my phone, just the internet connection went out there for a second. Most of the Republicans are entrepreneurs. So I think that, the idea of Hustle Zone made a lot of sense. And the way I got the name was I would go live, because a lot of the entrepreneurs at the time would go live and they would pump people up like Gary Vee. Grant Cardone, they'd be like, get up off your butt, and like things like that. So I just followed what they were doing. So we would do these live jam sessions, and then in the morning time I would be pumping people up, because that was just the culture at the time. And this is when Facebook, because Blab had gone away probably in August of I think 2016. So Blab had went away, and we needed a place to kind of do our shows. And then, Facebook just launched their live streaming. So I was live streaming a ton, and we would pump each other up. We would do the live streams through the jam sessions, and then I would go on camera. And one day I was like with my girlfriend at the time. I was just like, I would go live and I would show people, what I'm doing and how I'm working, and I'd have her working with me because she was working in the company at the time. And I'd be like, welcome to the power zone. Welcome to the power zone. And she's like, oh, don't put me on camera. Don't put me on camera. And I was like, oh, this was cool. So I just thought, usually way my ideas kind of warp around in my head is like when things like that happen and I find a pattern or find something that really works, then I repeat it again. So me and my dyslexic behind mixed up the words. The next time I went online, and I did the show again, or I went live again, I was like, welcome to the hustle zone. Welcome to the hustle zone. And it then stuck. And then I would go on for probably good, 20 days. I'd be like, welcome to the hustle zone. Welcome to the hustle zone. And then that's the story of the hustle zone. So it kind of grew until sorry, this is a long story, but it kind of grew into...
No, this is interesting.
We changed the audience because 2015, or no, 2015, that's when, a lot of the Black Lives Matter movement started to, become, mainstream. And, we were all kind of upset with what was happening in the news. And, and I couldn't talk about it because most of the people that were a part of my live streams were Republicans. A lot of them did not agree with Black Lives Matter. And I was afraid of losing my base.
Okay.
So, but I just got so fed up that I just said, you know what, I'm going to change my direction. I'm going to make it about, blacks, or, not make it about blacks, but I'm going to recenter my audience to fit my, demographics so that I can talk about some of these issues. And, and that, and how I got, like, that was the idea. And how I got there was pretty weird because, I guess, I was studying the Republicans. I was studying because at the time Facebook or Instagram would allow you to see what they were looking at, like what they were liking on Instagram. Remember that feature?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So I would spy, and they were liking booty pictures and all kinds of stuff, but yet they were projecting, positivity. You got to be positive, and they had Christian values, but then when you looked behind what they were actually looking at, it was a lot of smut. So I said, you know what? Why don't I just create smut and see if they will watch my content more, and what if they convert? So I did that, and it changed everything because people started looking at my content, and then the people that were looking at my content weren't necessarily the Republicans. The Republicans were such a small fraction of the audience that was looking at the stuff. It was, the Black community. And not that they were looking at the smut. They were just looking at stuff that would make them laugh. And, and then politics. And then I start adding so many different things. So, in the last year or so, my audience grew over 8,000%. I grew so fast. Because I started tapping into the community. And when I was thinking of changing the audience is one thing, but, the data just led me to where I am now. So that's pretty much the long and short story of Hustle Zone TV.
Well, it's good. That's interesting. I never knew that. So it's good. I'm glad you shared that with me because now I know.
Yeah.
I can go up and say power zone.
Welcome to the power zone.
Power zone. Okay, sorry, you were gonna say something else?
No, the only other thing I would say is that we did so many things between those 4 years. I've produced so many shows: the Shane Train Show, the Monica Black Diamond Show. Monica had kind of the same format that you had. You talked to a lot of artists and whatnot. She did the same thing. We created a show called Nomadic Entrepreneurs, where we had a bunch of nomads, interview other nomads in the States, and they're a Latino couple. And of course, I had the Go Live and Prosper show, which was the original Hustle Zone show.
Yeah, because I was like, whatever happened to that?
Yeah. So the Go Live and Prosper will always be here. It's like, it's just, that's a staple. But the original Go Live and Prosper was the 1% Jam session, which then became Hustle Zone show. And then when I got Monica and when things changed, then it became Go Live and Prosper show. And I had all these different series that I had created using live stream technology and, you know, really engaging a base of people and not just, and just taking the idea of Blab and incorporating community into everything that I was doing. So when people ask me, what is Hustle Zone? I'm like, we're an ethnocultural, you know, media company, and we're a living documentary because every day we have people come on, it's like a documentary and we never stop. And the other thing we say is that we're a micro community. You know, we are a community that consists of people that know each other, love each other. We support each other. So it's much more than just having a show. It's where you break the fourth wall and bring people a part of your, you know, part of your show. So it's great because people, it's, you know, you remember your grandma used to watch Young and the Restless and she'd be like, hey, yes, Ryan, don't you dare do that. You know, she's talking to the freaking television screen. Now you can talk to the television screen and it talks back to you. So it's amazing.
Well, okay. Those of you that are tuning in, you know how it goes when somebody just pops in and they don't know what's going on. So this is Ryan Perez with me tonight here on Jess TV, Jess FM. We're talking about his entrepreneurship through his different little businesses of Bowtie Creative and the Hustle Zone TVs. We're talking about that. And then we're going to go into some other interesting topics. We're going to hop in to your interview that you did this morning for Global TV. So please tell us how, because I kind of know a bit of the background of what's happening, but the public actually doesn't really know what's going on with their project.
Yeah, so Global TV has been doing several different projects, and I know that you know, I was on Global a few weeks ago talking about you know, Blackout Tuesday, and you know, Global has always been an organization that has talked about racism. You know, they kind of push the needle forward in that regard. In this city, I was part of the Racism at the Doors when they were, I was behind the scenes, but I was also in the first, you know, the first part of the series where they went undercover and, you know, two guys with, you know, one guy, I think one guy had a turban and they weren't allowed into the clubs. You know, we were a part of that, you know, just reacting to the fact that, you know, some of the nightclubs wouldn't let people of color in. So, I have a long working relationship with Global News. And, you know, when it comes to race issues, and I've been filmed by, you know, just, you know, I've been, and then I think Global News interviewed me a few years ago in regards to my company as well. So this time, someone had tipped, like one of the activists had tipped me off, or not tipped me off, but one of the activists mentioned my name for a series that they're doing on being Black in Calgary. Now, it wasn't being Black like, you know what, I'm experiencing a lot of racism here. You know, it was more like, you know, they wanted to humanize me, you know, and humanize, you know, people of color or Black people on what a typical Calgarian would be like so that people can relate, right? Because it's not just about, like, we have the social construct of being Black, but we are Calgarians and, you know, we contribute to the society just as much as everybody else. So I kind of found it was neat for them to actually put a series together where they get to see the human side of, you know, of me rather than just looking at my color of, you know, of my skin and determining what the narrative would be surrounding that. So that was pretty much what that was all about.
Interesting. Do you know when they're going to be airing that?
Not sure, because I think that they have to interview one more person, but there's going to be several different people interviewed I think there's 3 people that he was allowed to interview. But I mean, I know that Globo has been doing a bunch of pieces with other people in the city, just talking about racism. I think it's a perfect opportunity. And, this is just one of those ones where it's not talking about racism.
Okay. I know, I don't know who else that that have been interviewed, but I know like one of our friends, KL, he's a rapper in the city. He's been interviewed. You've been interviewed, and I can't think of somebody else as well that we know that's been interviewed. Do you know anybody else that's been interviewed personally?
No. I've seen KL interviewed. I've seen, an activist by the name of Adora interviewed. I've seen a bunch of people that I know interviewed. Oh, not a bunch. I've seen KL for the most part.
Mikey Woods was my other friend too. He's another singer rapper. So
yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think it's a great opportunity that people get it. Because we are a small community. I went to school with Kay. I didn't go to school with Kay. I've known Kay's family from since I was young. And so his sister used to dance with my sister, and they used to be best friends, and then the story goes on. So it's just great to see the people that I grew up with, in the forefront of these movements, because we've been in this city for quite some time. So we know what's going down. We were at the train stations, at the Whitehorn train stations, chilling out. So the fact that now we're in the forefront and leading our community, the next generation, and airing out our voices to make a change. I think that's a beautiful thing, and Kay has expressed a lot of passion for our community, and it's great for him to use his influence to really rally people behind, but not to mention, all the other people that have been there, like Adora and, Dushima, and, a lot of, and some people that I don't even know, a lot of women that are leading the front in Black Lives Matter, or the Black Lives Matter movement here.
Right, exactly. Yeah. How have you been affected by it growing up? Or have you?
What do you mean?
Just by being of color.
Being of color meaning being black?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You could call me black. I like being, because anytime people see people of color.
Black or African American.
No, I'm black, black, because I didn't invent the social construct, but I don't have no problem using the word black because it's not a derogatory term. It's what unites all of us together as a community and as, an overall, over encompassing, culture. But, the people of color terminology, I know that people are using it. And I'm like, I'm not a coloring book. You know what I mean? Black people have been, we are the indigenous people of the earth. We were here first, right? So I think that, God didn't just pencil us in and say, hey, there you go. I'm going to color you today and put some brown, and there you go. You got color, I'm black. I mean, and he didn't call us black either. But, pardon?
As it or dark gray.
Yeah. So he didn't call us black. We were humans, right? So it's only through colonization and slavery that we got the term. And the term didn't just come with a term. It was a way of devaluing us so that we can support the industry. The industry was carving up land, taking over land, and forcing a group of people into slavery. And there were laws that were put in place, that some of these laws still exist today. A lot of systems and structures that were developed during the times of slavery still exist today. So that social construct of being black still remains, and that's why the best way for me to just identify myself and other members of the community is saying black, because it strikes a chord at the same time, but it also unites a whole community. It doesn't matter where you're from. Once once I call you that, we know what we're talking about. And now we're taking the word and the label, making it into something that making it, we're empowered, and we're turning it into a movement. That's why when we say Black Lives Matter, it has a meaning, because black is always used in such a negative connotation, but we're taking it and saying, you know what, we're moving forward, and we are going to overcome some of these systemic we're going to get over the systemic racism that is filtered through, not even interwoven in throughout our society.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry I didn't answer your question, but
okay, well now you can. But you know what? No, it's nice to be able to have an explanation, because for us growing up, us white folk, as you want to say, we don't know the situation. Some people do, some people don't. Right. I just have black friends growing up, but I didn't know, it never occurred to me of these issues growing up, because I've always just had black friends in my life, and it's never bothered me. I've just looked at them as the same as everybody else, but there are some people that don't understand. So it's nice to have the clarification of it all. So thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure.
Okay. So yes.
So to answer the question, have I experienced racism, or what was it like to grow up? Well, it was terrible.
Yeah. Has it been a negative thing in your life, or have you encountered it in any certain way?
Yes, I've encountered it, from since I was a little boy. When I was in in ECS, I remember there's a kid by the name of Ryan. He had the same name as me, and usually, when someone has the same name as you, you're like, or I think his name was Brian or Ryan. Usually when a kid has the same name as you, you just become friends. You're like, you got the same name as me, dog. I know. Okay, let's do this. So, but it wasn't like that. He said, I don't like you. And that's how my story began, because one of the first encounters that I had with any kid was them telling me that they didn't like me because of the color of my skin. As I grew older in the school, I would get bullied by grade sixers, grade fivers. They would push me, or trip me. They would spit on me. So I didn't really have much, I was bullied, and and then I didn't have really good, solid friends. I didn't have people that I could rely on as friends. I always spent a lot of time, on the playgrounds by myself, because, none of the kids wanted to play with me and all this other stuff. So, and then growing up to, I was such a happy kid and warm kid, and didn't really look at it differently. It's only when I saw it happen to my other friends, and when I saw good things happening to them, and we would be doing the same thing, but they would be chosen. Even in classrooms, I would know the answer. I would raise my hand, but the teacher would never choose me, right? So, that was terrible, because, it does something to a child's self-esteem when he feels that he's not being noticed in the classroom, and he's not being noticed on the school grounds. And I had dyslexia as well, so it made it even 10 times harder. And, I didn't have a lot of black people in the school, so I didn't really have people that I could, there was not a lot of people that I could just hang out with and relate with, right? I just kind of had to adopt into the culture. And then, you go to a store, or you talk to a clergy, or you talk to, someone in a government agency, and, over time, they just talk to you differently than everybody else. I feel like some of the people would just talk loud to me, like, hi, how's it going? And what would you like today? And you just get these microaggressions. And I felt it all throughout my life, these microaggressions, to the point that by the time you become, 17, 16, you want to fight back. You want to be like, you know what? Hey, I'm old enough now to speak back. So I was quite angry when I was young. I was quite angry. I didn't know where all that aggression was coming from, but it stemmed from a lot of my childhood. It stemmed from just how I was treated, and how hip hop wasn't okay for me to listen to, and but when white kids were listening to hip hop music, it was okay. Like, just watching a lot of that stuff play before my eyes and feeling like, a lot of my life was unfair. I just didn't feel like I had I didn't feel like people really truly understood me. But that's just my expression. Other people were able to blend in more. I just didn't blend in. I didn't, I didn't integrate well into society. Maybe because I was an introvert, maybe, the dyslexia, but I think color had a lot to do with it. Kids would be like, what do you like to eat? Do you like fried chicken? Do you like watermelon? And I'm like, yeah, I love fried chicken. I love watermelon.
Who doesn't like fried chicken?
Who doesn't? But like, I mean, I don't like it anymore because I'm vegan. But but they would say that to me, and I wouldn't understand what they meant. I didn't get it. And it's only until I watched a movie called Bamboozled, where I learned about, how the minstrel shows, how they would, make fun of black people in the movies. They would dress themselves up in blackface and they would dance around. They would say that we love chicken and watermelon and things of that nature. And, I'm thinking that when my friends brought this stuff up to me, and I would get it all the time. Like, they'd be like, yeah, you like fried chicken, right? You like fried chicken. I'm Caribbean. We don't eat a lot of fried chicken in my household. Like, we eat a lot of jerk chicken, and not jerk chicken, but more curry stuff. And, and my mom she went to Forest Lawn High School. So like, she would just make us regular food like everybody else. Other than our culture dishes, we would just have regular food. I never thought about, like fried chicken and watermelon. I never thought that, that's what these kids who are my so-called friends would be discussing with their parents or whomever in their house. Because at that time, you have to think, like, they're not they don't have access to the internet. We didn't have access to the internet. No. Where would they have gotten that from? They would have gotten that from their parents. So for me, it all makes sense now why I wasn't invited to birthday parties with the friends that I used to play with. I had a lot of isolation, and I didn't understand why. I just thought I was not good enough.
Interesting. It is. It's a lot to do with the parents and how they raise their kids and everything. Because you always see floating around on Facebook, somebody that's white and somebody that's black, and they're little kids and they're just playing together, or they're hugging each other, or, and there's always the caption of like, we weren't born to hate the other one or whatever, something like that, and it's like, it's true. We're not born to know the difference of the other person. We're just like, they're human. You should love everyone, not, have this thing saying like, you can't like the blacks, or you can't like, anyone else. Like, it should just be, everyone should love each other. That's kind of how it should be. But yeah, you're definitely taught it somewhere. Or even though growing up too, I think your friends that you play with, they hear it from maybe their parents, and then they teach the other kids at school too. Oh, don't play with Ryan because, he's black. Yeah. And, eats chicken and watermelon. This is sounding like a good picnic, by the way.
Not for me. No chicken for me. 100%.
I know, you're vegan.
Save the animal. Save the chickens.
Save the chickens.
It's
like,
not a good
you
picnic.
definitely learn it somewhere. But I'm very, very glad that this Black movement has actually been, the Black Lives Matter is coming around. And it seems to be popping up every, 5 to 10 years. And it's kind of a reminder that, we should all be loving each other, and, it shouldn't matter your skin color. So it's nice that they're doing a little bit more this time with doing these documentaries and stuff that's coming up.
And, the city of Calgary just made some, instrumental changes in the government there to add more inclusion into government programs and whatnot. I think that it's not just about love as much as people would like. It's about accepting each other for who we are as individuals.
Yeah.
That's not the conversation that we should be having. We should be having a conversation about changing systematic racism in all levels of government, in corporations, so that, it's not, because it's really hard to, like, for someone to be racist or be considered racist, you have to see outward acts of racism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't know the difference between, discrimination and prejudice and and racism, colorism. They don't know the difference. And so, when you see someone saying, well, I hate black people, or black people do this, or black people do that, the first, the elementary response would be, well, that's racist, right? And it's elementary, but still, when you see outward acts of racism, you call it out when you're anti-racism, or when you're about anti-racism. But when you dig deeper, there's a system that allows that to happen, right? There's, when you're at work and people are bringing up certain things, and you go to the boss, you automatically get fired because you're not a part of the team. There's just a lot of these things, that these microaggressions and things that are happening within workplaces, within government agencies, etc. And no one really steps forward because the laws in place don't allow them to step forward. And even when you do make a complaint, people turn to deaf ears. So it's about abolishing these systems and creating an equal playing field for people of color, or black people, or whatever label you want to give us. Give us opportunities to thrive, because people don't realize that the level of not even misunderstanding, the level of level of misunderstanding, the level of microaggressions and all that stuff pile up over time. It affects your psyche, it affects your mood, and I think that a lot of black people, including myself, feel a lot of I think Charlemagne the God said it the best, like anxiety. There's a black side that you feel, that you're just afraid to be yourself. You're afraid to bring up certain things, and we shouldn't have to feel so negative when we're in society, and the fact that people are like, yeah, we're all the same, groovy, like peace, that whole thing, people, that is great and all, but we have to have serious conversations, deeper than just everyone is equal. We actually have to talk about the systemic barriers, and we need to talk about the history. And because the Calgary schools right now, they don't have the curriculum to teach the full history, and therefore that's why you have so much disagreements between groups of people, because people are not seeing the patterns of racism, because they're not aware of it.
Yeah, that's true. It is. It's true. It's definitely something, like, I know growing up too, I never really learned too much about it, because they're teaching, the basic Canadian history, and there may be a tiny bit of the slavery talk, but it probably wasn't even that much, not even a full chapter, I don't even think, probably a couple pages in the history book, and on you go, right?
Right.
And it depends on the year that you're being taught social studies too, because some years they're only talking about war, and some years they're talking about, the church going up, there's so many different topics that I think now, they need to have a serious grade where they can be, probably grade 12 would be the best year to be teaching Black history, and then it's ingrained. I think you understand more at that level, I think.
Well, that's the thing, is that, Black history is not just a topic. It's world history.
No, it's a life.
It's world history. Like, when we're talking about war, when we're talking about anything to do with invention, with philosophy, because no one talks about before slavery. People think that Black history is slavery, but what people don't know is that a lot of the Greeks stole, knowledge, went and pillaged, Africa and and especially in Egypt, and burned down the libraries and steal the knowledge for themselves. You guys, anyone that's interested in that, in some of those facts, they can look up the book Stolen Legacy, which tells you that a lot of the philosophy that we know of, the sciences and stuff like that, it originated in Africa. No one talks about those things. So, being like, talking about Black history is not just, bringing up Martin Luther King and, bringing up Malcolm X and bringing up the guy that invented the Super Soaker. It's actually being real about a lot of the history. Jewels that Queen Elizabeth wears, came from somewhere. Didn't come from England. It came from Africa and it came from India. So there's a lot of sensitive information that people don't want to talk about, and I get it, because then that means that a lot of the history that is being taught is a lie, and for a good portion of it, maybe it is a lie. What about the indigenous people? When we talk about I didn't learn anything about residential schools until I left school, so I think that again, these are hard. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially when you're a minority. Sit there and hear an alternative history, but it's a hard pill to swallow for the majority culture that doesn't want to hear that some of their heroes were not heroes, right? Like Christopher Columbus. He wasn't. He may be hero to some people, but he wasn't a hero to other people. It just depends on what narrative you're telling, and and depends on who is telling the story.
Yeah, two sides to every coin, right? As they say. Absolutely. I know it's quite interesting to find out more about the history as you get older, because when you go through school, it's like, oh, you're just reading the textbooks and you're just learning this and whatever the teacher's giving you. But then, you're meeting people in your life, you're learning a little bit more and more about their history, and then you're learning more truths that are coming up out of it. So, now I think, and with our technology nowadays too, we're getting so much more information consistently coming through. So you have to get the facts on everything. Like what you think is true or what might not be true, you have to actually get facts on it nowadays, because there's so much information going out there.
And so much wrong information. But I think what's going on now is great. I think that, the consciousness is, Bob Marley says you can fool some people sometimes, but you can't fool all the people all the time. I think we've just gotten to the point where, we can't deny the truth. The truth is there. When it comes to Black Lives Matter, people are dying without due process. And that is essential for freedom. That due process, that whole aspect of being able to be innocent before proven guilty, that is essential to our freedoms. So, I always find it weird that people debate Black Lives Matter, because, Black Lives Matter is about preserving the attributes of our society, of being a free nation. But what does what does free mean? Well, does it mean demonizing somebody because of the color of their skin, because of the way they dress, the way they talk? People are saying all lives matter. Sure, all lives matter, but they can't matter if, certain citizens of society just get killed for no reason, and we can't justify it. Sure, they say there's black on black crime. Okay, well, in some areas there's just black people in those neighborhoods. A black person doesn't go, hey, I'm going to shoot another black person today. It has more to do with the crime has more to do with gang violence, and so it doesn't necessarily matter about the race. And we don't really talk about white on white violence because it doesn't exist. Just like black on black violence doesn't exist because white people kill white people. But that doesn't, a white man will kill his wife and his children. It doesn't mean he's committing white on white crime. He's just, like the fact is that happens to be white. So, we have to start changing the narrative of, what's really happening in these communities. Like, sure, some of these communities are not the best in terms of education, in terms of cultural, excellence. However, they're still a part of the society. And just because they live a certain way doesn't mean that they don't have the ability to vote. Because I forget which state it was the other day. I saw the news that, the voting system was all out of whack. Polling machines weren't showing up on time, and a lot of people were turned away, unable to vote. Like, that systemic racism has nothing to do with the people, has nothing to do with whether a black dad is in the home or not, has nothing to do with that. Just like when George Floyd died, everyone's like, well, he has a criminal past. It has, whatever he did, he could have been Barney. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever he did, it didn't matter in that moment of truth, because if all things are equal, he should have been able to be taken into custody, should have been brought forward. He should have been brought forward to a judge. The judge would have determined whether he has bail. Then, then they go to trial, and then he's deemed either guilty or innocent. That doesn't happen in America. And that's the problem, is that if equality is for all, it should be for all. And if a cop has that much power to be able to do that on you, then they have the power to do that on anyone. And that should scare everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. Like, it's absolutely insane what's going on, and justice needs to be served. It does. And like you said, it has to be in front of a court, and the court has to be, just. It does. Otherwise, why do we have a court for? We might as well just do the olden days and get the people to just judge each other and throw stones at each other or hang each other and be done with it, right?
Exactly.
So, exactly. Okay, let's switch the topic a little bit. But still sure. kind of still on the same lines. But I want to talk about your documentary, because we only have about 10 minutes left here. So I wanted everyone to kind of learn a bit about what you're doing, because I think it's very important. So if you want to explain to everyone, that would be amazing.
Okay. Well, the living documentary was I was explaining earlier, about me doing the live streams, but then I wanted to take the live streams to a bit further, because I was doing a lot of interviews at the time. I think I've done probably close to 200 interviews altogether. Not sure, haven't counted. But I have a lot of interviews. The idea was to create a living documentary, something that never dies, something that goes on and on forever. And the living documentary, I have other ideas with the living documentary, but the general or the first principles of a living documentary is that a documentary where you're constantly interviewing people and talking to them about their experiences and their stories, and never stopping. It's not a series that will ever end. It will be a series that goes on, as, I get older, I pass on the business to somebody else, and they can keep on the stories, keep the stories coming. The thing is that, when it comes to Black and Hispanic communities, there's a lot of story that's not being told in mainstream media. And there's a lot of stories, a lot of history, a lot of stories of excellence that that are not being told either. And these stories will last a lifetime. That's why I call it a living documentary. It's going to last a lifetime, to tell all the stories. And that's what we want to do. Is we want to put people, from these communities in the center of the conversation, and continuously interview and talk about different experiences. Because here's the thing, Blacks are not a monolith. Hispanics are not a monolith. We are different. We have similarities. A lot of Hispanic people, especially those who identify as Latino, a lot of Black roots. So it's about unifying two groups of people in such a way, because we have shared experiences, but also to create, narratives for each group because they all have different narratives. They all share the same story, but they, look at the story a little bit differently. And so the idea is to study the differences and not the similarities. Is to focus on differences. So, for example, one polarizing subject would be Black Republicans. I want to explore that story because a lot of these people are Black, but you'll get the left. The left will say, well, these guys aren't Black; they're token Black people, because they voted for Trump. And I can see both sides of the story. I could see why the Republicans, for example, would view the Democrats as racist because some policies some Democratic policies have negatively impacted the Black community. Bill Clinton had the three strikes rule that put a lot of Blacks away for trumped up charges. Like if they sold marijuana or cannabis and they got caught 3 times, they would be in jail for life. So those policies ruined a lot of families and put a lot of people in jail for a good time. And unlike, I don't know how the prison systems here are in Canada, but I know in the States that they have the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment, the 13th Amendment says that slavery is abolished, but if you commit a crime, then you relinquish all your rights. So, when they say that slavery doesn't exist or it's been abolished, it actually hasn't been. It's not abolished. It's actually still happening in the prison systems. The prison systems are under their stock exchange. They're publicly traded companies. They're for profit. They're not government agencies. So, there are judges that are making money putting Black people in prison. And we don't talk about this. And this is why Kanye West and Kim Kardashian are talking about prison reform, because a lot of the policies put Black men away for life. And then these same corporations that are housing these Black men are paying rappers to continue the narrative of gang life. So we're being programmed into a lifestyle, and then once we get caught up and get put in jail, it's hard to get out of the system, especially when the system is rigged for you to be, to continue to work for free. And that's, a lot of these prisoners work for pennies on the dollar, and they make a lot of different goods and services. So, and Bill Clinton, had a lot to do with that. And some of the Democrats had a lot to do with that. That's why Hillary Clinton did not win, because Black people didn't trust her. Kamala Harris, she's a black politician as well. She was running for president. And again, she was a prosecutor, and she was really tough on the community. That's why she didn't get voted in, because people didn't trust her. The idea that, so there's two, like, I'm not saying I'm for or against, I know more about,
good to hear. Yeah.
There's just two narratives. There's just two things that needs to be, and I want to approach this project from an unbiased standpoint. I just want to hear people's voices. Black Lives Matter. There's people talking about trans lives matter, Black trans lives matter, because a lot of Black trans women go missing. They get killed, and no one does anything about it. So their voices are being stifled because, especially in the Black community, Christianity is the main staple. It's the main religion. Or if you're Muslim, again, they don't allow for homosexuality. So when there's a lot of Black activists that say that this was kind of engineered into the community. Homosexuality was never in our societies. So you have all these people having different points of views about a subject, and I want to bring those stories as they are. You were on my show, The Jam Session. The Jam Session was just hearing your voice, and not not questioning your voice. It's just listening to it. And as
Yeah.
hard as it is to listen to people, and what they have to say, like a therapy session, you still have to listen to them and do it. So that's what this project is about, is hearing people's voices unfiltered.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be good. It's going to be good for everyone to hear it, to hear their, bit of their history growing up, how it's affected them, what they're doing about it. Is someone going to interview you? Are you going to be a part of it too?
Sorry, am I going to be a part of it too?
Yeah. Are you going to have a say in it?
You know what? Like we have other projects where I'm in the forefront. We have other series and other shows that that we're going to continue to do. So I think I'm going to be fairly instrumental in a lot of Hustle Zone. But I think for the documentary, I think it's about the people that have not been in the center, and people that have gone unnoticed. There's a lot of trends that happen in the Black community that become mainstream culture, but no one knows who invents these things. I want to be able to catch it while it happens, and just have it properly documented where it's coming from, to give people the credit. Because a lot of people, they'll make a dance move, they'll do something cool, and then it gets famous, and they go unnoticed and they go unpaid. Michael Jackson did not invent the moonwalk. A lot of the dance moves that he had was invented by the street dancers, the street kids, the beboppers, the b-boys.
Yeah.
And he has Michael Jackson allegedly had some Crip ties too. Like he was, his family was heavily integrated in the communities, apparently, or allegedly.
Yeah.
A lot of the people that taught him how to move and how to do his things, you have to do some prying to get to know where he got his ideas from. I don't want that to happen to our generation. I want us to get credit, because that's what changes the narrative too. Because what society often thinks is that Blacks don't contribute to society. Well, it's really hard to be recognized it's hard to be recognized for something that's not being recorded. It's hard to be recognized when you're poor and you don't have the resources. So we want to give access. We want to properly record these stories so that that this living documentary can serve as an encyclopedia, for Black culture.
Yeah. Have you had any guests yet, or is this just what's the timeline of this?
Well, we got to raise money first. We're right now trying to get things set up. For the time being, Hustle Zone is continuing to do we have our own news show. We have Monica Black Diamond show. We have the Nomad show. We have a bunch of shows that we're going to keep on doing. But once we raise the money for this documentary, then we're going to devise a strategy plan on how we're going to go about doing things. But right now it's about raising the money, and you guys can go to our GoFundMe page. If you go to gofundme.com/F/Hustle Zone TV, you'll be able to donate $2, $5, $10, to support us, to put that all together, because we need to find writers, we need to find creatives, and we need to buy equipment and whatnot to be able, and we also need to travel to meet people around the world and to document their stories.
Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to do, is give some information to the public, because I want them to know what's going on. I think your project is going to be amazing. It's going to be very informative, and it's just going to be one of these things that hopefully it's going to be on the news one day, and people will really want to be involved with it.
Yeah, I hope, and that's why we're advocating for it. That's why we're pushing it forward. That's why we're talking about it. I'm not going to rest until we raise the money, and it's because it just needs to happen. I'm just tired of us just missing the boat every single time. I'm tired of the Miley Cyruses of the world, stealing our culture and then, popularizing our culture and not really giving reference back to where it comes from. you know, like this has to stop. Like we really need to preserve our culture, so that we can be considered as, you know, as members of the society too, you know. But if we don't tell the stories, then we go unnoticed, and then, you know, that just in people's minds just justifies why we should kill the black man, because you know what, he's no good to us anyway, so why not just get rid of his life? He doesn't have lawyers, he doesn't have any resources, so you know, why do we care? You know, and it has to stop. So that's why we're doing this project, is because we care. And we're not just, you know, we're not just talking about black, we're talking about Hispanics as well. The
Right.
Hispanic culture is just as, you know, vilified, you know, for illegal immigration and whatnot. And again, they make up nearly 50% of the U.S. population. And majority of the people that follow the Hustle Zone are from America. So that's why a lot of the issues I'm talking about are more, you know, like it's more American, a lot of the American politics, because that's where all of our people are. So, you know, the Hispanics community as well, we want to tell their stories. We want to pay for people that can translate both English and Spanish, so that we can, you know, tell their stories as well. You know, like it's very important. This project is very important. It needs to be done.
Is there going to be, does it matter what ages that you're interviewing at?
No, it's, you know, again, it's we're not a monolith. So, you know, we are different. We're old, young, you know, some of us speak Spanish, some of us don't. Some of us, you know, have careers, other of us don't. Some of us are entrepreneurs. So we are, you know, pretty much opening it up to, you know, pretty much be it's because like the corporate side of things, our corporate agenda is to provide insights, is, you know, to house a micro community. A part of this project is to actually build a micro community on our social media website that we're developing. So develop this micro community, and, you know, to house insights and, you know, and statistical information about our communities and how to deal with our communities. Because marketers don't really know. And, you know, H&M and Prada and Gucci have all come out with blackface recently in their you know, in their marketing campaigns. And, you know, like, who decided that? Who was sitting on the board? Who okayed the decision to put a monkey on a child's chest? We don't know. But if they were dealing with the Hustle Zone, they would know that they would do that. You know what I mean? Because we would be providing them with insights on how to market to the black community better. So, you know, our job is to provide cultural insights.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate this. I really do. Because I'm learning more and more too. As I am white, I don't know the whole history of things, and I'm learning more and more all the time. So I'm looking forward to this. And I'm hoping, like, yeah, I'll probably have you on my other show as well, and we'll talk about more of it there and stuff too, because this is also why I'm doing this Connected with Carrie segment, is that I'm trying to connect everyone together in a certain way, whether it's through music or whether it's through the different businesses. But this is another connection of like, hey, if you're black or you're Latino or whatever, this is your chance to be able to get on one of your shows and be able to speak your mind and say, okay, this is how I've been affected by history, or this is what's been going on. And where are you going to have a chance to do that, right? Hardly anywhere. Yeah, you can put a little post on Facebook, or, you know, a little thing on Instagram with a little picture and, oh, you know, this is what happened this day. But to be able to sit down with you and be able to give a whole little interview or a little bit of the documentary, it's going to be there, and it's going to be there for life now.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a massive project, and I hope that those that are watching can reach out to you. So do they just go on to that? How else can they get a hold of you for this project?
Just look up Hustle Zone TV on Instagram. Go to Hustle Zone. We're working on a website right now. But go to Hustle Zone on YouTube. You can find me, Ryan Perez, on Facebook, Brand Savant _ on Instagram. and talk to me personally. But what we really want you guys to do, find us through because you'll get more information about our project by just going on to GoFundMe. So if you go to gofundme.com/F/Hustle Zone TV, all one word, you should be able to find the project. And, if you want to donate $2, $5, $10, that would be great. Now, people are going to ask, well, why don't you, why should I invest in this? Because this is only about Black and Latinos and da 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 da. Well, because I think it just, the best way to, to abolish racism and dismantle systemic racism is actually by hearing the stories of people that you don't know. Hearing the stories, humanizing us, so that you're not looking at us like an object, or looking at us as just this group of people that just do certain things and eat certain types of foods. This is going to give you a way of peeking into the door and getting into the mindsets of us, so that you know how to better serve us. Because companies that have better understanding of the communities that they're serving become more profitable. There's insight companies for a lot of initiatives. Insight companies exist everywhere. So, we're just giving you qualitative, data about communities that are very diverse.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate this, and I appreciate you coming in.
Yeah.
And on a Tuesday night, late at night, you could be putting your kid to bed. So
yeah. Yeah.
No, I do. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate you doing this for everyone. Because I'm very interested in your project, because I know I was just talking to another artist on my last Connected with Carrie show last week. We kind of talked a bit about the Black Lives Matter a bit, but he was a reggae dance hall artist, and we kind of talked about the music side of it, where a lot of the Black history with the music came over, and a lot of like our Caribbean music and all that kind of stuff, of course, comes from Caribbean, Jamaica, those places. Some from Africa, about Afro House and all this different types of music, and it affects everyone. It's not just something in Black history, but us as well. It's part of our history too now. Everyone loves music, and it's all integrated somehow. So it's just like you said, it's not just affects the Blacks. It doesn't. It affects everyone. It really does.
Right.
So
exactly.
I appreciate you coming on. Telling us about it and what's going to be happening and how this project's going to get bigger and bigger. And I think everyone should be a part of it in some way or another, whether it's being interviewed or whether you're giving a little bit. I think, and I hope a lot of people do reach out to you and be able to give a little bit if they can. So sure. I really appreciate it. I really do.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, it's, platforms like yours that, allow us to get the message out. And it's for everyone. And, we're not excluding people that are not from our community to participate. We're asking you to participate. If you want to be a writer, if you're outside the community, you want to be a part of it. As long as you understand our culture, there is a place for you in here. And we don't want to, we're not discriminating against any culture. We just want to give the opportunities, because a part of, disabling systemic racism is by giving people jobs, giving them opportunities, right? A lot of people have gone to school for journalism but never got a job in journalism, or they go to creative schools, learn video editing, but never touched a video because, the industry doesn't let you get in. So, we want to give the opportunities to people of color, or whatever label that people want to identify with. We want to give them the opportunities. And if you are qualified, also, if you're qualified, you're not a part of the community, nothing wrong with hitting us up.
Maybe I'll hit you up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, this is part of it. I'm already helping you out. So no, it's cool. I love being a part of it. So thank you so much, Ryan, for coming on tonight. If you want to let everyone know where else they can find you, if they want to follow you on Instagram or Facebook, you already said Brand Savant. What's on Instagram?
So our community right now, we just have 2 spaces. We have one for excellence, one for entertainment. So Hustle Zone
Okay.
and Hustle Zone TV. You just type in Hustle Zone in Google, you should be able to find something of ours.
Okay.
We're well optimized, but Hustle Zone TV, you want to go to Facebook groups. We have a group there called Hustle Zone. So you add yourself there, then you can keep yourself updated with what's happening with the project.
Awesome. Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to wrap up now. This was Connected with Carrie. Thank you, Ryan Perez, for joining me tonight. This was an amazing topic, and I'm just so thrilled that you came in and be able to talk about this. It's amazing. For myself, I am Carrie. You can also find me. I'm the owner of Underground Radio C as well, and if you want any interviews there, by all means, go over and hit me up there. But also, I'm always looking for somebody here for my Connected with Carrie show as well. If you guys have any amazing stories that you would like to say, or how you're contributing to society as well in different ways, I want to hear from you as well, because this is a great opportunity to do this. I really love connecting with everyone. I love getting everyone connected together in our huge community that we are growing every day in this world. It's not just in our own cities or in little towns, it's actually worldwide. So I appreciate everyone watching tonight. This was on Jess TV, Jess FM. You can also follow us on www.jessfm.ca to watch it there. YouTube, Jess TV, Jess FM on Facebook as well. So I appreciate everyone going and following us and watching it. Tell your friends about all these great projects happening as well. Follow Ryan Perez on his Instagram. Go find him on Hustle Zone. And we would appreciate that as well. For myself, I'm also on Instagram, Underground Radio C. Please connect with me there. And again, yes, please, if you want to be on this segment, contact me as well. Either through Facebook, you can also email me at radioc.contact@gmail.com as well. So I hope you guys have a great evening. Thanks again, Ryan. I appreciate you coming in. You're amazing, and keep up the good work. I want to see this succeed. So congratulations. And we'll talk to you soon, all right? Have a great night.
Okay, have a good one.